Today, I'm going to answer a bunch of your questions that have been piling up. How long did it take for your taste preferences to shift? Where is Rufus? What is your strategy for not eating at night after 7 p.m.? Oh, a couple people have asked this. How many people are on the PB with J team? All right, so I've got two questions coming up that are related to the Aquafaba masterclass video we did a little while ago. What's the biggest lesson you could pass on to others? So this is the question that I probably have gotten the most in the last couple of weeks. Stick around to hear the answers. Greetings and welcome to or welcome back to PB with Jay. Here on the channel, we focus on all things plant-based goodness. In the past, I have done videos where I've answered a bunch of questions, but I've done it kind of sporadically here or there. So what I thought I would maybe do is start doing a regular like mailbag kind of video, I'll call it. So let me know in the comments down below if this is the kind of thing that's interesting for you, or if you'd rather me just answer one question per video, maybe put it at the beginning of the video, put it at the end of the video. I'm interested in what kind of format you might be interested in something like this, or if you just like it all in one spot. I'm always testing and experimenting here on the channel with different kind of formats and styles and structures of videos to just figure out what's most beneficial and helpful for you. And even though I put a lot of time and effort into responding to pretty much every single comment or question you give us, I think it's helpful to put them into video form because not everyone reads the comments, and a lot of these questions are kind of universal and are things that other people are thinking about. Anyway, let me know what you think because the feedback is super helpful. It's how we come up with a lot of video ideas these days, is based on your suggestions and the things that you're looking for. Speaking of you wonderful, lovely people, before we get into those questions, I'd like to say hello to some of you who've said hello in the comments down below. Monique and her hubby from Edmonton, Alberta. Caro from the Austrian Alps, surrounded by the mountains. Donna from Windsor, Ontario. Lori from Fall River, Massachusetts. Julie from Hamburg in northern Germany, whose family owns a sourdough starter named Herman. I never named my sourdough starter, but I named my kombucha Scoby. His name is Walter. He has many grandchildren in the surrounding Greater Toronto area. Julie from Moravia, New York. Marianne from Connecticut. Anne from North Wales. Julie from McMinnville, Tennessee. Pat from Denison, Texas. Luigi from Melbourne, Australia. Tony from the United Kingdom. And Laura from the Central Coast of California. If you'd like a shout out here on the channel, all you have to do is say hello to us in the comments down below. Let us know who you are, where you're watching from, and let us know something else. You pick, but just give us a fun fact about yourself, where you live. You decide. Make it interesting. And if you want to support the channel as well as yourself, consider joining us over on the Mighty Network for the many perks there, all for the price of a crappy cup of coffee a month. And if you want to support us even further, we do have a merch store. And I swear not everything just has PB with J logos all over it. We have some fun t-shirts with sayings. A lot of them were part of our t-shirt contest. And we haven't set a deadline just yet, but we are going to discontinue those contest t-shirts sometime in the fall because we want to do a second round of that contest. So start thinking of t-shirt ideas. And those shirts will be gone, so maybe get them sometime in the near future. All right, to the questions. So this first question came from Renee White. Thanks, Renee. She's asking, it's in regard to our recent review of this book. She said that, I said that not all the recipes can be adapted to whole food plant-based. Can you share the tip-offs of how you know when you can adapt a recipe and when it won't work when trying to adapt? Excellent question. I mean, generally speaking, if I find that the recipe calls for like a combination of a lot of oil, mostly it's just like if it's half oil, you know, if it's I don't know, like I'd have to, now I gotta look through the book. I know what you're saying at home. Jeremy, why didn't you do your damn research and figure out the answer to this question before you started rolling the video? Well, I didn't. Welcome to our channel. I think it's just like, for example, like these fried shallots. It's half a cup of oil and then just the onions, and it's just meant to make really crispy onions. You're not gonna get those results without using oil. So if you're just really desperate for something crispy like onions, then just make it that way and know that it's a treat. But I just know for me, like I'm not gonna be able to get those exact results because it's just not how things like Aquafaba work. It gets things like a really close proximity, but if you just want fried food, just have fried food, you know, and make it a sometimes thing. I'd say that's the main thing. If it's just using a lot of ingredients that are very oil-based, if it's using tons of sugar, like multiple sources of sugar. Those are kind of the main red flags. I'm a big believer that there's very few recipes I can't convert in some way. I just know that they're not going to have a close enough proximity. And so if I'm just making it for myself and my family, that's fine. But when we're doing a cookbook review, I get enough crap from people who complain that I don't follow the recipes. I just find that I want to set up these books for as much success as possible. So I try to find recipes that I only have to convert a few things. Otherwise, I'm essentially creating a whole new recipe, which I'm not opposed to, but it's just not really helpful when it comes to reviewing a book. Does that make sense? I hope I answered that question. If you feel like I didn't really answer that properly, let me know in the comments below and I'll take another swing at it. Next, this is actually a comment, and this is something I get from a lot of people. I didn't write down who said this, so I apologize. I love the way you say pasta. I feel like you're making fun of me, but not in like a mean way. It's just like, it's cute that you say it wrong. I know it's supposed to be like pasta. Is that it? Pasta with a P-A-H? Pasta? Pesta? Posta? I don't know. That's how I've always said it. Anyway, I'm glad it amuses you. I don't know. I'm gonna mark that one done. What is your strategy for not eating at night after 7 p.m.? Great question. Actually, last week I posted kind of a compilation video of a bunch of recipes that follow the starch solution. And in that I talk about how, you know, one of the really important things in not snacking at night is having a dinner that fills you up. You know, and primarily something that has some starch to it. So it really does just make you feel satisfied and full. So things that have, you know, pasta or rice, you know, potatoes, something substantial. I don't necessarily think that you should pig out at the end of the day, because I also believe in that philosophy of like, eat your biggest meal at the beginning of the day and eat smaller meals throughout the day, because you're just, as human beings, we burn less calories typically at the end of the day. So if you're eating a big meal, they're just sitting inside of you and you're not burning them off the way you do throughout the rest of the day. That combined with just the fact that it's become a habit now. You know, I just don't eat after I have my meal and, you know, some form of a dessert, whatever that is. Sometimes I actually make a dessert, and sometimes it's just a couple pieces of chocolate or a piece of fruit. I do like something sweet to cap off a meal. The thing I did at the beginning that was just kind of a mental hack was I would brush my teeth. Because when I brush my teeth, I know I don't want to eat anything else, because then it just tastes like bad. You know what I'm talking about? You ever take a bite of an apple after you brush your teeth? Do me a favor, go give that a try and just see how much you want to eat next time. You won't, it's gross. And I like apples a lot. Basically, you just have to start a new habit, you know? And to start a habit, you have to break part of the cycle of that old habit. So brushing my teeth after dinner kind of triggered in my brain, well, now it's time to get ready for nighttime, sleepy. Whatever you want to call it, you know? And if you do that for 30 days straight, your brain just gets rewired that way. And so now it feels weird to me to eat after 7 p.m. or 7:30 or whenever it is we finish our eating for the day. You know, my brain just thinks it's weird. It doesn't know why you're doing it. So yeah, it's become a habit. It's super easy for me now. A lot of times people are snacking at night because they're sitting in front of the TV, right? Or doing something else that's sedentary. So maybe break that up as part of your new habit cycle. Go for a walk, you know, play a card game with a loved one, have a phone call, I don't know, something. Just do something different if you find that whatever was making you snack is very triggering to making you want to snack. Switch that up somehow. Next question. Oh, a couple people have asked this. Where is Rufus? You might have noticed we have a new family member. Her name is Velma. Okay, down. I love you. But I have to do the intro. Okay, bye, thanks. Velma's very, very active, and so she butts her way into our lives and the camera in a way that Rufus does not. So Rufus is still very much around and happy and kicking. He's just chilling, because he's like a senior citizen and Velma's like a teenager. Since we're talking about the doggos, they're both rescues. We got Rufus when he was 3.5 years old, and I'm not doing the math well today, but I think he's 10, 11 years old now. We've had him for about 7 or 8 years. That math doesn't math at all. Anyway, he's been around. We got him through a shelter that focuses on dogs that come from Mexico. in Toronto, it's an agency called Dibs, Dogs in Better Spots. And so he was 3.5 old, and he was crusty when we got him. He lived on the street for a bit, didn't get along with other dogs at all, was very kind of ornery towards them, and it took a lot to get him trained. But now he's super great, super chill. He can get along with other dogs as long as they, don't put up a growly, aggro face in front of him. He's good to go. Velma is just a little over 1.5 years old, and we got her from the Toronto Humane Society. Velma was just tied up and left outside of the Humane Society one morning. So she was considered a stray when she came in, and we came in 2 days later and fell in love with her. And so we brought her home within a week of meeting her. And she's very lovely. We were very fortunate to find out that she was super duper house trained, could follow a number of commands really, really easily. Not outdoor trained though, bad on walks. Like to the point where I think she'd never actually been on a walk, or her previous owners just took her to the park because she knew how to fetch and bring back a ball.
Good girl.
But not good leash training. Well, we fixed that. We've had her for over a month now, and she's pretty good. And this note just to say that if you are watching this and you're in some kind of a situation where you need to surrender your dog or give them up, I totally get that. Life is complicated and hard, and you want to do the best for this dog. Please do me a favor. If you ever surrender your dog to a Humane Society, don't just leave it tied up. Go inside. I know it's going to be awkward for you to do it, but if you really do love that animal, and I know whoever had Velma before us loved her because of the way she was trained, it really helps the dog, for the people that are going to be bringing them into their home, to know as much about them as possible. And we've been lucky, like there's no weird red flags that we're learning about Velma as she goes along. Maybe there'll be more to come. But I just know like it would have been great to just have a bit of insight towards her and her quirks, what she likes, what she doesn't like, just to make her transition into our home a little bit easier. So that's my little public service announcement about dogs. If you need to get rid of your dog for whatever reason, step up and help that dog out in the best way possible by letting the Humane Society, whoever's taking them in, know as much about them as possible. How many people are on the PB with J team? I don't even mean like crew. It's pretty much just me. Not to discount the family. Obviously, the family gets involved in everything we do. Willie's even starting to shoot some stuff for the channel, which is great. I have in the past been able to hire a crew for some older videos we did here on the channel that you can probably tell are a slightly different style than what we do now. I am applying for some funds to do a bigger kind of cool project that I want to do here on the channel in the future, so we're waiting to hear about that. But for the day-to-day videos like this, it's literally just me shooting, coming up with them, editing, all the things. And I really, really love it. It is luckily because we've been able to, monetize the channel thanks to all of you watching, thanks to things like our Mighty Network, our merch and whatnot. It's becoming closer to being able to be a full-time job, which is really, really great because I love doing what we do here on the channel. So super thanks to all of you for making that possible for myself, for my family, and for this community. And I'll tell you what's actually making it really, really possible these days is this new, you've probably seen ads for it on YouTube otherwise, it's this software called Motion. What's great about Motion for someone like me and maybe yourself, if you're the kind of person that just has a lot to do, but you don't necessarily have to do it in any specific order, what's great about Motion is you can put all your tasks in there, you can assign a start date, deadlines, and then Motion will schedule it for you. You can set up different times of days, you want to do different kind of tasks and whatnot, and it really just kind of populates it in a way that is manageable. What I like about it is it forces me to think about how much time I spend on each task, and what's great is if you don't get it done, it'll just reschedule it in the future. And if it fills up too much with your deadlines, it'll let you know if things are impossible. For someone like me who is really schedule focused, this has been like a mental health saver. I still use my bullet journal. I put everything in there manually, but what this really does is make me feel confident about the future and that I'm not overwhelming myself or putting too much on my plate because no flags are coming up that my schedule is too complicated. So Big shout out, lots of love to motion, because motion is really what's making PB with Jay possible these days and keeping me in a good mental health situation. And if you're interested in something like motion for yourself, maybe you are a creative individual or you've just got this massive to-do list that you feel like you're never gonna get done, give motion a try. I've got a link in the description down below. And if you sign up for an annual subscription, you can get 44% off. If you want to do a free trial. That's what I did to start, a 7-day free trial, and within 2 days of using it, I signed up for a year. And they have other discounts that you can use as well, but I'll tell you this, I know how much I think my time is worth per hour, and 1 month of motion, even at its full price, is still less than that. And I'll tell you this, just using it last week alone, I found I was at least 1 day ahead of schedule where I would normally be, because I didn't have to spend my time thinking about where to organize things. It did it for me. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm just really excited about this app. It's literally changed my life. Let's get back to questions. All right, so I've got 2 questions coming up that are related to the Aquafaba masterclass video we did a little while ago. I know a lot of you new subscribers have come to us because of that video. Thank you so much. Thank you to our longtime member of our community, Kimberly, for recommending me doing that video. It really, really did blow up in an awesome way, so I'm glad that it's been helpful for so many of you. So the first comment is from, oh my God, user OV1YS2IB2N. And they say, Aquafaba has all the toxins and saponins released by the chickpeas, and that is why it's discarded. So those things are actually from the raw chickpeas, and once it's cooked, they break down, and it's really not a concern for most people. If you are sensitive in general to legumes, maybe that's a reason why you might want to avoid it. And if you're truly worried about it, then do what I do and make your own. And really the trick is to soak your chickpeas in 1 batch of water, and you discard that water, and then you cook it in an entirely different batch. I'm literally soaking some chickpeas right here. And this, you can't even see it. I don't want to tip it. I got water over my laptop, but I'm soaking some right now. I will throw out that liquid, and then I will cook it in other liquid, and that's the liquid that will become the Aquafaba, not the original soaking liquid. If you do have to buy them, you don't have time to make your own, just make sure they don't have salt inside of them, mostly just for flavor, and make sure they come in a BPA-free can. And if you want a recipe for how to make your own Aquafaba, I will link in the description down below that video that I was talking about earlier. So this is the question that I probably have gotten the most in the last couple of weeks, mostly as a result of that Aquafaba video. The question is, can you substitute Aquafaba for both eggs and oil in the same recipe, or only one or the other? I'm so annoyed with myself that I didn't explain this in the video. It would make sense. I'm sorry that I didn't. The answer is yes. You can actually just use Aquafaba for both of those things in the same recipe. But what I typically do is I'll use like a flax egg in place of the egg portion of the recipe. So the ratio of a flax egg is 1 tablespoon of flax to 2.5 tablespoons of water per egg. That said, what I would really recommend is, depending on the recipe you're making, experiment, see what works best for that recipe, and then maybe try it a different way and see if that's better. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just all about experimenting in the kitchen. It's really good to have, ideas from people like myself and others, but you just gotta roll your sleeves up sometimes and try stuff out and dare to fail. It's still not gonna taste terrible usually, and then you're just gonna have some kind of sense of accomplishment from figuring stuff out on your own. Okay, this next question, I'm really sorry. I didn't do a good job up to this point of writing down the names of the people who asked the questions. I promise if we turn this into like a regular mailbag type thing, I'll do better at this moving forward. So the question is, how long did it take for your taste preferences to shift? Is there ever a time if you don't feel satisfied after eating a whole food plant-based meal? I can eat many meals that are whole food plant-based, but sometimes I'm not satisfied and feel like something is missing nutrient-wise. Does that ever happen in your family? So if you've seen our cookbook review videos, which I'm sure a lot of you have, you'll notice that I add and swap things out in the recipes. And a lot of times that's because I think that there's not enough vegetables in it, like I did with the recent video where I did the young man cooking recipes. or there's not like what I would call a significant protein source, I'll add beans or tofu or something like that. And that's just because I've been doing this long enough, I can look at a recipe and just give a sense of whether or not that's gonna be satisfying for me as a meal. And that just comes down to the thing we've said over and over again on this channel, which is you need to eat a balance. You need to make sure that there is a significant starch source inside of your meal, and ideally a whole food plant-based one. You've got a healthy amount of fats. Fats are gonna keep you satiated. You've got a protein in there. They're gonna make you satiated as well. And then you also just want tons of vegetables, because those are the things that are gonna give you lots of healthy fiber as well that'll make you feel full and help the food break down inside of your stomach. So the real answer is no. Like, there's very few times where after a meal we don't feel satisfied when we're cooking at home. Sometimes when we're eating out, I can feel that way just because wherever we're eating, the person who created the meal hasn't balanced it in a proper way. But at home, you can control that, you know? And sometimes if I know I'm having, you know, a recipe for dessert that's got some tofu in it or something else that's, you know, a heavier dessert, I'll have a lighter dinner because I know that's gonna balance it out. And the two of them will satisfy me as a whole. And I would just say, trust your gut on this. If you feel like you're missing something or you don't feel satisfied from a meal, that's probably right. And you have to be a detective and figure out what is it that's missing from this meal that I can add to it as a dessert afterwards or, you know, throw in while I'm cooking it. One of our kids' favorite desserts when they were really, really little, and it's not even a dessert, was if they were still hungry after dinner, we had what we call the Papa Filler-Upper, which is literally just a scoop of natural peanut butter. That's what my dad would do. My dad would walk around after like doing a night shift or coming home from the factory he worked at and would just grab a big spoon and a jar of peanut butter and just take a big spoon. And so we call him Papa in our family. And so it became lovingly known as a Papa Filler-Upper. Scoop of peanut butter or nut butter of your choice. Ideally the natural ones, not the ones that are full of sugar. And last but not least, what's the biggest lesson you could pass on to others? This is a really great question. And the answer honestly is, as much as we talk about our physical health and our diet on this channel, what I would say is the most important thing that I would want to share with others is focus on your mental health. Obviously, it's a hot topic in the world today, and mental health is recognized in a way that it certainly was not when I was a child. The biggest thing that I have shifted in my life in recent years is just not letting myself get upset about things that are outside of my control. And as a result, I've tried to structure my life in a way that I have more control over things. Doing this YouTube channel, for example, as opposed to just focusing all my efforts in the film and television world, which is full of rejection and just complicated things that I can't control most of the time, has been a huge mental health savior for me because it allows me to connect with this amazing audience inside of all of you and control what kind of work I want to make, when I want to make it, when I want to put it up, where in the traditional sense, I would have to worry about gatekeepers and whatnot. So that's been helpful for me, but that extends to so many different ways. You know what I mean? You can control what you put into your body health-wise. As I mentioned earlier on this video, one thing that's really helped me with what I can control is how much I get done in a day. Because I am a person, I've made a bullet journal video, I'll put a link to it in the description down below. I like to plan out my day, but I'm also really bad about putting too much on my schedule, just knowing that it's okay if I push it to the next day. But there's still like a negative mental health thing where I look at it and go, oh, there's a lot to do. I didn't get it all done, and I still feel negative about it. And so, as I mentioned earlier with that app that I'm using now called Motion, what I love about it is because it makes you assign an amount of time for each task. My to-do list is much shorter every day, and I actually get it all done, which, I don't know, it just makes you really, really feel good, and it doesn't make you feel bad about all the things that you were never gonna get done on that list as well. Again, link in the description down below. If you are interested in that Motion app, you can get it up to 44% off if you sign up for an annual subscription. Thank you for joining me for this mailbag video. As I mentioned earlier, please let me know what kind of format you'd like to see from this video in the future. If you'd like to see this become like a regular, maybe even monthly thing on the channel. If you'd rather I just break this down into smaller sections and I answer one question per video and I put it in the middle or at the end or something. Let me know. I'm genuinely curious how you would like this sort of thing to be done moving forward. Or maybe you're like, hey dude, I don't want to hear you answer questions. Just get back in the kitchen and cook stuff. I'm probably not going to listen to you, but I respect you if that's your opinion. Hit that like button to let YouTube know to share this with other people, and subscribe for more videos like this. And since you're here, YouTube thinks this is one of the videos that is on your to-do list, your own mental to-do list. And you're here, you're probably comfy. Just take it off, watch the video, and then, it's one less thing you have to do later on.